Archaeologists are trying to study an ancient site in China that could change our history. Until now, scientists around the world cannot explain the origin of strange objects. I will also talk about amazing inventions from the past that were too innovative for that time. Hi friend, you're on the Kirtop channel. The first calculator from the 17th century. Did you know that Blaise Pascal was not only a brilliant mathematician, but also invented amazing things? Here is one of his stories that will show you how talent and adventurism can work together to create something unique. In the 17th century, Pascal embodied his idea in the form of the first arithmetic adding machine, which was called Pascaline. It was already the second calculating machine, but the first one that was actually built and used. So how did it all start? Blaise Pascal was inspired by his father, who worked with taxes and faced financial problems and charges of treason. Then the young Pascal came up with the idea to create a mechanism that would facilitate the calculation of tax collections. After all, then everyone did the calculations on the counting boards. In 1642, when Blaise was 19 years old, he took on the project. A couple of years later, and after much revision and research, he created a machine that looked like a shoebox with dials on top, gears and windows to display calculations. Unfortunately, Pascaline could only add numbers, since the gears could only rotate in one direction. But using a clever 9's complement math trick allowed to subtract numbers. Although the device was not simple inside, the Pascaline caused delight among people, since this level of automatism had not existed until then. Blaise Pascal later made about 50 of these machines and sold about 20 of them. The introduction of these machines was hampered by their high costs and complexity of production. Plus, France only in 1799 switched to the metric system in monetary calculations. So, thanks to the courage and ingenuity of Blaise, the Pascaline was created, a calculating machine that greatly facilitated calculations and became the forerunner of modern calculators. As you can see, sometimes unusual ideas and adventurism can lead to the discovery and creation of unique things that change the world. Remember this story the next time you hear about some weird invention, because it could be something truly great. Ancient Towers of China. In the foothills of the Himalayas, there are amazing stone towers. Some of them are used by local residents as stables and barns, while others are simply abandoned. They started talking about the towers only in 1998, when the French researcher Frédéric Daragon drew attention to them. Frédéric studied these mysterious towers for 5 whole years. She sought information about them from local residents and Buddhist monasteries, but found nothing. As a result, she found references to the towers in Chinese chronicles and records of European travelers of the 19th century. It turns out that the foothills of the Himalayas have long been inhabited by tribes who lived in isolation from each other. Their languages and dialects developed separately, so the history of the towers may have been forgotten. Himalayan towers are unique in their strength. They withstand earthquakes thanks to a mixture of stone, brick, and wood. The towers have different shapes: square, polygonal, and even star-shaped with 12 peaks. They are 600, 1,000 years old, and some are even older. Frédéric suggested that some of the towers served as a symbol of wealth. The inhabitants of the wealthy villages that traded with China could build them as a demonstration of their wealth. Other towers may have been watchtowers, as they stand near trade routes and the entrance to them is at a height of several meters. Double hoard with Viking treasures. Archaeologists have found in Denmark a stunning treasure of ancient silver coins and jewelry, which reveals the secrets about the life of the famous Viking king Harald Bluetooth. This treasure was found on the Jutland Peninsula, not far from the ancient ring forts built by Harald himself around 980. In total, about 300 silver items were found, including 50 coins and jewelry. It turned out that these treasures were hidden in 2 different places under buildings that no longer exist. Archaeologists thought that the person who buried the treasure deliberately divided it into parts, so as not to lose everything at once. By the way, the treasure was discovered by a woman with a metal detector. Most of the items found are chopped silver or hack silver. These are pieces of silver jewelry that could be weighed and sold. But among the treasure, there were also silver coins from Arab and German countries, as well as from Denmark. Of particular interest are Danish coins with a cross, which were minted during the reign of Harald Bluetooth. Harald was one of the first Viking kings to convert to Christianity, and with this new faith, he wanted to unite the warring Viking tribes in Denmark. No one knows for sure why he got the nickname Bluetooth. Perhaps he had a bad tooth that was blue-black. This name is still known today, as it gave its name to the Bluetooth wireless communication standard. Harald unified Denmark and even ruled part of Norway. He was king until his death in 985 or 986, when he was succeeded on the throne by his son Sweyn Forkbeard. Astronomical Compendium of 1550. Here's an interesting fact from archaeology. Once upon a time, there were such devices as astronomical compendiums. These were small tools for complex calculations packed in one box. Astronomical compendiums cost a lot and were a sign of the wealth of their owner. One such compendium, made around 1550 in Augsburg, is made of gilded brass. Such a compendium included many tools, including a passage instrument for determining the time at night from the stars, lists of latitudes, a magnetic compass, a list of ports and harbors, a perpetual calendar, and a lunar indicator. With the help of the astronomical compendium, it was possible to find out the current time, the height of the tide in ports, and perform calendar calculations. All this was so amazing and useful that today it is even difficult to imagine how such complex functions fit in such a small device. Strength of ancient Roman concrete. The ancient Romans were true masters of construction. They built many roads, aqueducts, ports, and huge buildings. Many of these structures are still standing, although several millennia have passed. Scientists have unraveled the secret of this stability: Roman concrete. It was used in the construction of the famous Pantheon and many other buildings. The peculiarity of this concrete is volcanic ash, which was mined in the area of the Gulf of Naples. Roman builders actively used these ashes in their building projects. Scientists from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology studied ancient concrete and found white mineral elements in it, lime. These small particles gave concrete a unique ability to self-heal. When cracks appeared in concrete, it itself reacted with water and closed these cracks. Scientists believe that such a secret ingredient could help us make modern concrete stronger and more durable. This will help reduce the environmental impact of cement production, as it currently causes about 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. So, thanks to the science and secrets of the ancient Romans, we will be able to create even more sustainable and environmentally friendly structures in the future. New symbols on the Stone of Destiny. The Stone of Destiny is a very old and mysterious seat that is over 800 years old. It was used during the coronation of King Charles III in London on 6 May. This stone is a sacred symbol of Scotland made of red sandstone. There is a cross on one side of the stone and rings on the other so that it can be moved. Scientists have been studying this stone for a long time, and most recently, they discovered strange signs and anomalies on it that no one had noticed before. They found traces of copper alloy and gypsum plaster, which may indicate that the stone has some secret history that we do not yet know about. Scientists from the Scottish government conducted a laser scan of the stone and found markings similar to Roman numerals. However, it cannot be said for sure that these are Roman numerals. They also examined traces of copper alloy on the stone and found out that in the past, a copper or brass object was placed on the stone for a certain period of time, possibly some kind of sacred relic. Scientists also found gypsum plaster on the Stone of Destiny, which may indicate that a plaster cast of this artifact was made in the past. Such a cast is not mentioned in any records, and this came as a surprise to scientists. The Stone of Destiny was used at the coronation of Scottish kings in the 13th century and is now used at the coronation of British monarchs. It was stolen from Scotland in 1296 and returned only in the 20th century. As for its history before the 13th century, it remains a mystery. What happens to the documents of Leonardo da Vinci? Now I will tell you about the amazing discovery associated with the works of Leonardo da Vinci. It will be interesting. The Codex Atlanticus is a huge collection of drawings and writings made by Leonardo da Vinci himself. And now scientists from the Polytechnic University of Milan have recently tried to unravel the mystery of the black spots that appeared on one of the sheets of this code. Scientists used a bunch of cool methods to figure out where these spots came from and what caused them. At first, they thought that some microbes microbes were to blame, but it turned out that it wasn't the case. Using super powerful instruments, they discovered that the stains were due to the adhesive used to restore the sheets in the past. Apparently, there were some tricky substances in the glue that ended up staining the paper, and scientists have found that one of the reasons for the appearance of stains could be air pollution in Milan, because there were a lot of harmful substances in the air a long time ago. Scientists continue research to preserve the creations of Leonardo da Vinci for future generations, and this is very cool because this way we can learn even more about the past and about the talents of this great artist and scientist. Older than paper. A story that will surprise and delight all explorers. Archaeologists have found more than 10,000 ancient bamboo and wood inscriptions that are over 2,000 years old. These were original books of antiquity, and they were found in Yunnan, a Chinese province in the southwest. Have you ever seen bamboo books? These are such interesting and unique things that people used before the invention of paper. A wood for the creation of books began to be used much later. Most of the records found date back to the Han Dynasty, which is considered one of the most important in Chinese history. On the plates, archaeologists have found various texts about agriculture, medicine, as well as many administrative documents. Of particular interest to researchers were seal prints because they tell us about the ancient kingdom of Dian, which was later annexed to the territory of the Han Dynasty. This indicates that ancient China was a country of multi-ethnic cultures. Among the texts, even parts of the Analects of Confucius, an important philosophical textbook on Confucianism, were found. So on these bamboo and wooden plates you can find information about everything, from court documents to texts about transport and ethnic relations. Ruins of houses and roads were found at the same archaeological site, which indicates the life of the ancient inhabitants of the Yunnan region. Rare statue of Kahul. Unique statue found in Mexico. This is Kahul, the Mayan god of lighting and fertility. Archaeologists found it recently when they were building a railway for tourists, the Maya train. This road should be completed by 2024. The statue of Kahul is part of an urn found near one of the sections of the road. Kahul is often depicted with a head like a beast, with large eyes, a long snout, and serpentine legs that symbolize lightning bolts. Interestingly, Kahul's drawings are found in Mayan reliefs and in old books, but so far, only 3 statues of this god have been found. They are located in Guatemala in the city of Tikal. Therefore, this discovery in Mexico is a true luck. Experts looking for ancient objects in the area of the road construction have already made many discoveries. So far, they have found over 896,000 pottery, 491 bones, and nearly 49,000 structures or foundations. So the opening of the Kahul statue is not only interesting, but also a very important event. This allows scientists to learn more about the Maya and their ancient deity. Who knows what other secrets the ancient Maya hide from us? Finding in the desert of Saudi Arabia. Long time ago, long before the Egyptian pyramids and Stonehenge were built, people were creating amazing carvings of animals. Huge 3D drawings of camels and horses on rocks have been found in the desert of Saudi Arabia. At first, scientists thought they were 2,000 years old, but it turned out that they are even older than Stonehenge. All this happened in Neolithic times, when there were trees and lakes around. People had not yet tamed camels and may have hunted them, and the drawings on the rock are a kind of meeting place for ancient people. To create such images, people used flint tools and spent 10 to 15 days on each of them. The carved figures seem to be layered on top of each other, which indicates the complexity of their creation. Scholars initially made a mistake with the age of these drawings because dating stone carvings is not an easy task. However, after conducting various studies, they found out that the drawings are older than 8,000 years. This is much older than the 5,000-year-old Stonehenge. Thus, these ancient drawings of camels and horses in the desert are some of the oldest large-scale 3-dimensional depictions of animals in the world. The most famous jester of the 16th century. Once upon a time in the 1540s, Jean-Antoine d'Angleray, nicknamed Chicot, was born in France. He was not from a wealthy family, but he was still able to study at the famous Parisian college. However, he loved the sword more than books. At first, Chico served as a soldier for the Duke of Savoy, then became a courier and then worked for the French King Charles IX. When Charles died, Henry III ascended the throne. Chico had a sharp tongue, so he quickly became one of the court jesters. The jesters were important people in the royal courts. They entertained and gave advice. For example, before Chico, there was a famous jester, Triple A. Chico not only joked, but also fought. He participated in the siege of La Rochelle and became a lieutenant of Henry III. Chico was smart and funny. People loved him. He married Renee Bayard and they had 6 sons. After 10 years, Chico became a real nobleman, but soon a civil war broke out in France and Chico found himself next to the new king Henry IV. Together, they fought and won. Chico is said to have died a funny and strange death. He captured enemy Henry de Chaligny and brought him to the king. However, Henry hit Chico on the head and he soon died. However, no one knows for sure how it really happened. Perhaps Chico simply died of his wounds, as befits a warrior jester. This happened in 1592. That was an interesting story about Jean-Antoine Dangelare, who was both a funny jester and a brave warrior. You will hear more interesting stories about the ancient world and archaeological finds only on our channel. So subscribe and write a kind comment under the video. Thanks for your views. Bye everyone!